The Galaxy generals were the best of the best, of authority and supremacy, signifying in coalition of the galaxy's most proficient alien species. Their capacity for warfare was superior, commanding armies equipped with the best technology in the cosmos. Anybody noticed using energy shields that able to divert any missile towards drones, which offered live monitoring and on the battlefield. Intelligence. The generals were entitled to be assured of their superiority, for they have put down uprisings for generations, calmed rebel planets, and grew their dominion over the stars that they had never encountered a rival capable of vehemently contest their overwhelming Earth's technological advantage. Comparison was seen to be archaic. The generals of the backwater planet Galaxy thought the military of humanity was absurd, remaining dependent on antiquated technology such as snipers, explosives, and firearms. Outdated strategy they felt had no role in contemporary warfare. While the others, Galaxy had progressed to advanced Earth's arsenal and AI-driven strategies, seems to be stranded in the past, made fun of Earth's warriors by mentioning them as little more than kids utilizing sticks and stones to simulate battle. They were unable to envision that such a regressive species could resist the might of their superior armies. When the choice was taken to attack Earth, the generals acted with the highest with assurance. They used their forces with the anticipation of a quick and simple triumph. Their armies, outfitted with advanced energy weaponry personnel, they had almost impenetrable shields, as well as an array of aerial drones that patrolled the airspace and launched their attack. The generals observed the human forces from their command centers on board their warships, keen to observe how soon Earth's defenses would be overwhelmed. But the reply wasn't what the generals had expected. Nevertheless inferior in terms of technology, Earth's surface forces were ferociously committed and extremely outgunned and outnumbered. They turned to employing their guerrilla methods, understanding of the landscape, to reduce the extraterrestrial troops from advance. Earth evaded direct discussion, while realizing they won't prevail in a straight fight. Instead, they participated in ambushing and hit and run attacks. The extraterrestrial soldiers in thickets. They depended on mountains and abandoned cities, subtle surprise and accuracy to diminish the cosmic forces, annoying the extraterrestrial leaders. Yet it was Earth snipers' ascension to prominence that really took the cosmic generals by surprise. While the extraterrestrial forces advanced, extraordinarily large numbers of people assured in their shields, and technological human snipers with superiority positioned in distant and difficult to reach places started methodically pursuing important foreign officers, as well as drone pilots. The long-range guns of snipers and flawless accuracy were able to neutralize miles-high-value targets. Every shot was calculated from a distance shot intended to interfere with the alien command structure of the generals. Seeing these initial assaults were at first disdainful, they noticed the sniper assaults as only an annoyance, thinking their shields of energy would readily safeguard their officers and their drones would find their whereabouts and finally take out the snipers. How could one person wielding a rifle might be a danger to their sophisticated? The generals chuckled as war machines their men persisted in, marching in the knowledge that the snipers would be dealt with shortly. But the snipers turned out to be much more than a small. Earth's marksmen had been irritated. Years of training in the art of stealth and perseverance, fit to mix in their surroundings and enduring hours of waiting, even days, for the ideal shot. They were aware of the topography much superior to the invaders, and they took full advantage of it. Each time a senior extraterrestrial officer, extraterrestrial forces were launched into chaos in the absence of their leaders to give commands. The soldiers were uncertain of the next course of action. Although the drones are useful for patrolling large regions, have trouble identifying the precise positions of the snipers that made a move, moving silently from one place to another. Efficiency as more drones and COPS operators collapsed, and generals started to acknowledge that there was a problem. They had depended on energy shields to defend their soldiers weren't as unbreakable as they had believed. The snipers with specific armor-piercing weaponry rounds managed to identify weak areas in the barriers. EXP is using them too. Lethal impact from the drones that generals believed would be neutral within minutes. The snipers were unable to follow the people that moved like ghosts across the battleground. At one point, cocky and conceited generals discovered oneself being irritated and worried. Despite the increasing number of deaths, the generals held with their beliefs anyway, that their cutting-edge technology would finally triumph the day they made a double move on their search for and removal of the sharpshooters, sending out additional drones, stepping up patrols, and strengthening their arrangements. But the more firmly their formations grew simpler, as it became the snipers to launch a high-vantage attack spots tucked up amid dense woodlands or positioned on the remains of demolished structures. The snipers persisted in their unwavering attack that kills cops and important employees with lethal accuracy. The generals, now confronted with an adversary, hadn't expected to start arguing among themselves. A few desired to begin an all-out attack in an attempt to overpower the human forces in vast quantity compared to others argued in favor of taking additional precautions, being concerned that the snipers would just keep taking advantage of their flaws if they once united and behaved rashly. The Galactic Invasion's commander was starting to exhibit cracks due to a few human snipers who declined to engage in combat, using the aliens' words dependence on snipers, which was being derided as a throwback to a bygone period, was showing to be among their best the Galactic General's strengths, who had thought that their technological advancements made such outdated strategies were now required to acknowledge the truth that humans' warriors possessed significantly greater cunning and more deadly than they could have ever imagined. The generals miscalculated the strength of a single well-aimed shot, and the effects of shooters on the mind could have served as snipers in an army kept causing chaos on the extraterrestrial forces discovered on the battlefield themselves at a complete halt. Dominance in technology, which had formerly guaranteed their victory at all times, was now being challenged by people adaptability and inventiveness. The generals who had once watched Earth struggle as an inevitable outcome were now confronted with an attrition-based conflict that they hadn't not ready for. The humans were struggling to prevail in a close conflict. They were struggling to make it, and their snipers ensured that each and every when an alien officer arrived on Earth, they paid the cost of their conceit. In the early days after the assault had shown the generals of the galaxy that they were not as helpless as they had thought. They had anticipated a swift fall of Earth. The forces of humanity, particularly their snipers, were demonstrating their superiority. Contest, what had initially been a laughing the generals issue, was now turning into a nightmare. And they would soon find out, even though Earth's warriors were archaic, they saw a weak ghost that was far from it, was whispered more than simply a name. Among the forces of Earth, he was a living figure known for his aptitude for vanish with no trace. A ghost had earned him the title of deadliest sniper. His skill was known to humanity at all. Set extended well beyond regular soldiers. Training Ghost had become an expert in adapting to any setting and becoming into imperceptible to the unaided eye, and sophisticated scanning apparatuses, similar to his unmatched patience, allowed him to lie in wait for days or even hours before the ideal shot was there. But it wasn't what made him deadly was only his accuracy. It was his capacity to stay hidden, a ghostly presence on the battlefield, since years of ghostly activity behind the enemy lines in battles that had been practiced him at this particular time, while other snipers helped in the battle. Ghost was a single soldier army able to disassemble and hold chain of command with a sequence of expertly placed shots that he had practiced his craft to mastery while examining his potential vulnerabilities, while estimating distances, wind patterns, and even his heartbeat breathing on ones. Alone before firing, Ghost was more than just a marksman. The Galactic Generals and the Predator were about to understand the meaning of it. Haughty Galactic Generals, and contemptuous of Earth's armed forces possibilities, had not even occurred to her mind the presence of a ghostly figure. Their troops, protected by the best, encircled by energy barriers, drones that provided protection, had never been penetrated to them through traditional methods. Earth snipers were ridiculous remnants of an antiquated method of combat in their thoughts that no archaic bullet could ever overcome their sophisticated defenses. What they was unaware that the Ghost rifle wasn't shooting standard ammunition. It was armed with specially designed ammo intended to stab through the toughest sophisticated shields, and ghostly knowledge of where Ghost's first strike should be aimed when the forces of the galaxy were strongest, most assured. A senior extraterrestrial general concealed behind layers of energy shields and besieged by fighters' drones were examining the invasion strategies from what was perceived as an unbreakable control center. His protection was thought to be impenetrable. Nothing on Earth could possibly make it, though the Ghost had been there for days, observing the aliens' moves, generals monitoring their whereabouts, examining their shortcomings. He had selected Miles's moment with precision. Deep within, away in a secret sniper nest, the Ghost of the deep forest readied his shot. He had eagerly awaited this opportunity, taking into account each variable, while knowing that he will only have one opportunity to bullet through the atmosphere more quickly, then sound more quickly than the extraterrestrial security systems were able to respond as. It entered the energy shields, easily locating precisely the weak place that the Ghost had discovered by use of his careful observation in a pulse of the senior general. Important alien force leader on Earth had died. And the aftermath was mayhem in an instant, when the extraterrestrial warriors, officers, and drones rushed in perplexity on how their general may, safeguarded by technology that goes well beyond everything that Earth had been slain by a lone sharpshooter. The galaxy military had never encountered such accuracy prior to. Their energy shields, previously regarded as impenetrable, had been panic sprang out and shook the ranks. As it became apparent that they were not as impervious as they had thought, the generals of the galaxy were notified of the walkout, but they wrote it off as a fluke, possibly a fortunate shot, or an issue with the general's defense systems never would have been created. Nobody could fire like that as a sniper. Precision at such a distance is not. The general's opposition to their technology kept laughing at how archaic Earth was strategies with assurance that their shields and drones would take care of things. But Ghost was not done. In actuality, he was just getting going over the coming days. Ghost hit repeatedly, each time with the same deadly accuracy. Senior law enforcement officials, drone operators, and anyone who participated in logistics, an essential part in preserving the alien war machine, turned into one of his targets. Shoot him. Then disappear into the scenery that disappears completely behind. Galactic armies were clueless as to where the bullets were coming from, and regardless of how, despite using a lot of drones, they were unable to find him. For he was a ghost worthy of his name. With every death caused by ghosts, Count Rose fear started to circulate among the foreign warriors. They were accustomed to fighting in massive conflicts where powerful force and progressed technology made victory guaranteed. But they had not trained to neutralize a sniper who could remove their chieftains from far distant without ever disclosing himself. The soldiers started to become suspicious, afraid to travel over wide open spaces or assemble in sizable gatherings each moment an officer gave a command. And they were unsure if that cop would be the next to go down. The Ghost had transformed the battleground into his hunting territory, as well as the galaxy forces were the galaxy, his prey. Generals observing from a distance began to observe the increasing losses. Their command hierarchy was starting to break as a single important officer following another was removed. Surgically accuracy. The once overconfident generals now faced a predicament. How might one human sharpshooter lead to not with this much disruption recognize how their cutting-edge technology, drones, energy weaponry, and shields were being surpassed by their possessions, rejected as rudimentary instruments? Those they sent patrols and strike teams into the field resolute to locate the mind and remove Ghost. They sent out more drones outfitted with utilizing sophisticated scanning systems to find any living human beings within kilometers. Nevertheless, each time they honed in on what they believed that was where the Ghost was. Ghost already gone, moving like a shadow, always ahead of the opposition. He expected their motions to be understood strategies and took advantage of the more they attempted to capture flaws, the more difficult it was to find him. Emotional toll on the galaxy for enormous force of soldiers who had previously confidently marched while carrying the shield energy. Shields and drones at this time hesitant at every opportunity. They weren't longer battling a visible adversary, might anticipate that the Ghost was not apparent, erratic, and lethal. At every turn, they obeyed all orders that they could. Their final. The phobia of ghosts grew throughout the ranks. Like alien wildfire, leaders were formerly so confident in their superiority that they were currently in ongoing anxiety about the sniper they couldn't see. But while observing, the cosmic commanders, still having difficulty apprehend the extent of the danger, attempted to take command of the circumstance again. But sadly, the Ghost had already caused disruption. Their command hierarchy is irreparable. Every time a fresh policeman assumed takeover, they did so quickly. Annihilated by ghosts. Relentless purpose. The generals, who had previously made fun of Earth's sniper dependency, was now evident. Directly witnessed the efficacy of human strategies, even in opposition to the most sophisticated. The galactic technology that they had rejected as archaic was, in fact, an ideal combination of ability, patience, and strategy. Ghost has transformed into their most strength of their technological dependence, their biggest vulnerability. Their energy shields, made to keep them safe from the overwhelming force of firepower, were not a match for a marksman who simply need a single-shot. Drones they designed give total command over the battlefield were surpassed in strategy by a man who, to eliminate the Ghost's existence on the battlefield, was suffering a terrible impact on the forces of space and his with every shot. The death toll increased, caused a jolt through the ranks of the cosmic generals and the alien invaders. Once so confident in their technological supremacy and centralized authority structure, were starting to understand the extent of their error. Ghost wasn't. He was basically a very talented sniper, methodically tearing out the cornerstone of their military tactics, each officer, drone pilot, or important logistics staff. He removed the meticulously arranged equipment of the cosmic forces, continued to descend into chaos that the planetary forces had always depended on centralized management and cutting-edge technology to rule their adversaries, upon whom their whole strategy rested on close cooperation with commanders, giving commands from the security of command centers with strict security, shielded by several layers of energy and drones for monitoring. But Ghost's attacks with precision were weakening that internal command hierarchy. At all times when a commander was overthrown, It caused disarray caused by the soldiers on the ground. Commands caused a communication lag. Gave way, and the formerly unstoppable advance started to come to a stop for the foreign warriors, who had consistently moved with trust under the safeguard of their drones and shields. Altered everything. They had received training in open combat, fights with an overpowering force, believing in their technology to safeguard them, but as of late, every move they made was loaded, hesitatingly entering each open space. Each removing all exposed areas could imply the Death Ghost's capacity to persist unseen, in addition to his flawless accuracy, implied that nobody was secure. Soldiers suffered a severe psychological toll. Who has previously advanced with certainty was now called into doubt the very technology that had previously been their most advanced. The soldiers' knowledge that someplace a ghost was there, in the shadows, observing. They were unable to see him was silent, but they knew he was. Every crack of a faraway gun was audible there. A warning that death could happen at any time. Moment morale started to decline as foreign soldiers' paralysis from dread began questioning their actions, keeping out of important jobs that had formerly seen as crucial portions of the battlefield that were once entire become no man's land, where there is no one to accept the chance of being the next ghost. Desperate to take back control, target the generals of the galaxy through everything. They were interested in countering ghosts. They used cutting-edge drones equipped with high-tech imaging, such as thermal monitoring apparatus intended to monitor and find specialized human snipers. Strike groups were established, made up of the greatest warriors in the galaxy, forces assigned to locate and eradicating ghosts permanently. They even made an effort to utilize their own long-range aviation and artillery attacks to remove the ghost from concealment. But nothing happens. Ghost that worked was always one step ahead. The drones, even with their sophisticated imaging systems, failed to identify him. Proceeded too cautiously, absorbing the terrain with such proficiency that the most delicate apparatus was unable to select. He was skilled at taking advantage of the vulnerabilities in the technology used by the aliens, utilizing his surroundings to his advantage. If it was the thick layer of forests, the craggy mountain, cliffs, ranges, or the abandoned city, the ghost of battlefields was an expert in his surrounds. Each time the strike teams approached his last known location, he had already left no trace behind, and went on. The reason for their failure, the use of countermeasures, merely made the galaxy generals' annoyance at not being able to. One human marksman still causes such havoc, destruction on an army outfitted with the greatest cutting-edge technologies within the galaxy. The more they attempted to stop him, the more he became so elusive that the generals had joined the conflict full of confidence because of their capacity to overrun Earth with SH force. But they now discovered who they were their strongest when they're on the defensive instruments, drones, shields, and powerful firepower were all being devoid of any value by a single quiet enemy, as the ghost carried on snipping senior officials and essential personnel. The galactic interior structure forces started to disintegrate the once unified leadership that had been in charge. The military precision invasion was now. Serious disagreements emerged between the remaining generals, along with a few requesting a comprehensive retreat to reorganize and evaluate, while others made calls adopting even more forceful methods to destroy human resistance. But not. It was possible to agree that the deaths of a power had lost so many important commanders. Nobody was able to take the Hoover resolute command, while the alien troops on the ground were running out of want to battle without explicit guidance from their leaders. Started to retreat from important roles, stepping away. Strongholds that were once vital to the plan of invasion. Attacks by ghosts on their logistics officers broke supply lines down, denying soldiers essential supplies such as ammunition and medical. Provides the war machine with oil of the planetary forces was disintegrating due to a single sniper who persisted to function from the shadows. Disintegration of the leadership and a cascade of logistical catastrophe resulted. All over the alien army, all alien officers who succumbed to ghosts. Another fragment of the galactic communication broke down due to invasion split apart, and soldiers who had depended on directives from above to direct their acts now resulted in them being lost. Some started not knowing what to do next, withdrawing in haphazard clusters, while others defended themselves by staying behind places where one is too afraid to proceed, or the cohesiveness of the former. The powerful galactic army was Ghost's dissolving presence on the warfare had evolved beyond merely a psychological, rather than a physical threat. One's capacity to attack without a warning, to murder without being noticed, changed the course of the conflict in Earth's prefer. The planetary forces that formerly thought they would destroy Earth were now mired in a matter of days. Disagreement. They hadn't expected that they had become so dependent on technology was not meeting their needs, and they were being surpassed in strategy by a single person who was adept in leveraging their advantages into flaws, as the conflict carried on the unending consequences of Ghost's campaign became unavoidable. Alien combatants started to abandon their postings, hesitant to carry on a conflict in which an ongoing hunter pursued them. Invisible opponent Ghost attacks had resulted in widespread panic to the point where even the strongest veterans of the Galactic forces, hardened, were beginning to wonder whether the alien army could win. Considered Earth to be a modern planet. Considered a planet ripe for conquest. A place where their life is in danger. Better technology provided no defense against the relentless sniper whom the shadows, the one who followed them, generals from space. Once so full of confidence and conceit, now discovered finding themselves in a dire circumstance. They had misjudged the power of Earth's warriors, and currently their army was about to collapse. Ghost had adopted their own battlefield, employing every available means to defeat them, attempted to thwart their plan and lessen the general's determination, to now forced to make an impossible decision: carry on the conflict and eliminate the risk destruction, or withdraw and recognize acknowledgement that they were surpassed by a lone, quiet marksman. The fall of the Earth was quickly invaded by spacecraft and complete what started out as a self-assured attack spearheaded by extraterrestrial troops. Faith in their technology supremacy had turned into the cosmic generals made a hasty retreat, formerly assured of their victory and proud, rushed to preserve what was left of their shattered forces on the battlefield. Strategies that had previously been properly planned had been entirely disassembled by the accuracy of a lone human marksman. Ghost's unceasing assaults have destroyed their capacity to keep appearing normal of military hierarchy. With their leadership destroyed, the formerly cohesive the Galactic Council's army was scaled back to the deliberate eradication of chaos. Ghost, many senior officials, had not only damaged the command of the invasion framework, but had also destroyed the alien troop spirits. After each attack was a reminder of their altercation. An opponent who they were unable to see might eliminate their commanders from a distance, disappearing without a trace. Troops who previously depended on the safeguarding their advanced energy drones and shields now discovered they are no longer exposed and defenseless. Believed in their technology, aware that Ghost bullets have the ability to penetrate any defenses previously occupied by extraterrestrial forces, imposing and well-organized, now withdrew, fearing for their lives. Soldiers left their positions, retiring in dispersed groups as they made an attempt to flee the sniper's anger that they lacked the means to fighting back against the Galactic Councils. The invasion had failed beyond salvaging, and what was anticipated to be a quick conquest had turned into an abject failure. Earth, the planet they thought it was weak and unsophisticated, had flipped the tide of the combat with nothing beyond strategy of resolve and one sniper high accuracy in the galaxy. Generals who scoffed at the idea Earth's warriors offering any genuine threat now had to deal with the hard truth of their sniper ghosted them in defeat. Ridiculed as only a remnant of the past, had methodically disassembled one bullet at a time by their troops. The superiority of technology had demonstrated ineffective compared to his talent and their previous, now powerful armies were withdrawing, and humiliate the generals who were once so certain of their unbeatability realized that human fighters posed a much greater threat than they could have possibly envisioned. As the Galactic powers departed from the Ghost narrative and Earth shooters dispersed over the galaxy, which was formerly thought to be a primitives on a backwater planet beings, was now perceived with fresh praise. Foreign coalitions and empires that had witnessed the start of the invasion from afar to re-evaluate their perceptions of humanity. Earth, which appeared inconsequential, was now perceived as a force to take into consideration. The reliance on tactics similar to sniping, which the forces of space had made fun of, was now seen as one of the war's most potent weapons. The legend that had changed the course of events of conflict came to represent Earth's astonishing power when his name was said. Great amazement from both people and aliens, from civilians to military. He was a hero, sharpshooter who had protected his world using only a gun, patience, and skill to the remaining extraterrestrial soldiers. The invasion. He was a prominent figure feared. They had seen directly how Ghost had vanquished the most sophisticated, his renown across the galaxy, and his army dispersed throughout the heavens like wildfire. And following their loss against the Galactic generals, went back to their own realms. However, they did not return as victorious. They returned as war survivors. They had never really comprehended its weakened self-assurance and their reputations destroyed. The mental tormented by scars left by Ghost attacks, a reminder of the conflict they faced, abandoned by a species they once undervalued. The commanders-in-chief, who once been the physical manifestation of the Galaxy Council's armed power, were now compelled should reconsider their entire strategy for Earth warfare. That they had planned to easily take over was now a planet they must revere, if not be afraid of. The weight of their defeat's humiliation largely on the generals of the galaxy. They had gone into battle thinking that their cutting-edge technology would ensure triumph, but a ghost had revealed them alternatively. The Earth's failure turned into a warning story told across the G-galaxy. Other extraterrestrial empires that formerly thought they were untouchable at this point re-examined their presumptions regarding the defeat of humanity by the Galactic Council. Acted as a cautionary tale for anyone who might consider Earth to be feeble or readily. Victory on conquerable Earth had changed the galaxy's power dynamics. Don't no longer seen as a supporting role. Humanity deserved to be listed among the most revered species on Earth in the universe. Reliance on sniping techniques, combat of the guerrillas, and tactical accuracy have demonstrated that both technological and using brute force being better was not always sufficient to win a conflict. The generals from space who had once scoffed at these antiquated strategies realized that human creativity, resilience, and flexibility were factors to be dreaded when the last dust-settled thoughts turned to what had been a pivotal time in human history on Earth, viewed as outdated and inexperienced, has demonstrated that even the most cutting-edge technology might be surpassing in sheer willpower and activities of tactical brilliance. Ghosts had altered the way the war was fought. Yet they had also altered the galaxy's perception. Earth may no longer support humanity as rejected as an archaic planet. No, the ridicule of human warriors could continue. Due of their antiquated techniques, the Galactic had experienced a harsh lesson. Going up against a ghost like human sniper, no using a lot of technology could prevent a bullet. That you were blind to Galaxy Council, which was once the most strong power within the galaxy, had been humbled by their own species itself, ridiculed. Having scoffed at Earth's warriors are certain of their superior technology would ensure victory, but Ghost had revealed their actual power to them. Humankind, a power that is incomparable, evaluated ultimately only in terms of technology. It wasn't the quantity or weaponry of Earth that prevailed in the conflict. Their capacity to adjust, to outwit, and outlive the galaxy would always remember the day Earth refused to submit to the Galactic Council and came out on top. It was a triumph that altered the path of history. A triumph that altered the galaxy's perception, human power, and creativity. As well as at the heart of that triumph was Ghost the Sniper, who had overcome the challenges and shown that even the most sophisticated army in the galaxy might be reached at its knees by a lone, accurate shot. The Galactic Council, who had previously made fun of the warriors from Earth, would never make that again. They had discovered the hard way the manner in which warfare is conducted. Not usually the strongest or most cutting-edge technology that occasionally triumphs. A sharpshooter in the shadows is all that's needed, waiting tolerantly for the ideal opportunity to attack.